What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? The dwindling number of you that are probably out there for mid-September baseball on a Tuesday. Hope things are going well. Hope your week started out well. With no shows yesterday, just got away from me during the day with the two-game football slate and covering the baseball slate, and just did not get into enough time to have a show by the end of all of that coming together. And I thought about jumping on for a quick football one, but that was late, and we would have been just in the mix of everybody in the big shows and everything. So just kind of went by the wayside yesterday, but we had projections were up on the site for the two-gamer. We had full blast for baseball yesterday. Hopefully things went well. Dynamite debut for Trey Yesovich. He was awesome last night. I mentioned in Discord that he was the real deal before the show. Hopefully some people got on that play. He was super affordable. Projected out well in the model. I had him a couple points ahead of where I saw around the industry, but not high enough. He was fantastic. Kid is totally legit. 40+% strikeout rate in AAA this year. But anyway, good slate to get into today. A solid 11 gamer. Going to try and get through it. It's now 4:39. Fantastic. We're already behind. Going to try and get us out of here 6-ish so that, usual exit time for these later starting shows. So that does mean we have to do a lot of talking in a hurry, but hopefully everybody's doing well out there. Hopefully the football weekends went well. If you're here for the football show, felt like, or if you absorbed any of the content, felt like we were all over a lot of this football slate. Some key plays around, the obvious Jared Goff play came through really well. Some of the other pieces and parts that some lineups, yes, some lineups, no, and just not having it all in that one right lineup didn't quite come together to put a big win together, but it was a solid, productive football weekend, so hopefully you guys had the same. I'll be diving into this coming weekend slate tonight, getting that all together, hopefully up on the website tomorrow. Love to knock out, as I always threaten to do, a quarterbacks and stacks show sometime tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, a couple people here. Welcome. Say hi in the chat if you get a chance. Let's dive on in. Somebody had a great comment on the football show the other day. They posted this, probably my favorite comment I've ever gotten on a YouTube video. I'm 6 minutes into this video and you're still rambling. I want a show that gets right to the point and tells me what the great plays are. I'm sorry, dude, that you have come to the wrong place. Probably the right place for finding the plays that you want, the advice you're looking for the format you mentioned in your little message there. But if you don't like rambling, if you want things that are nice and concise and planned out, and scripted, and just tell you one little fact about every game, you gotta look around a little bit, because this ain't that show. We dive in pretty, can't say deep dive. We plunge at a pretty significant level into these slates. Padres and the Mets up top, 8-run total. Sub-4 implied on the Padres side against Clay Holmes, but it is supposedly going to be a double dip of Clay Holmes followed by Sean Manaea, with no real disclosure around what they're going to do. They're kind of playing it by ear is the word there. I don't have Manaea in the projections because of the uncertainty there. Might not end up pitching at all. But that is the report. So I do have Clay Holmes clipped a little bit low. He's been flagging lately anyway, so I don't think there's a ton of upside there. But the Pods are checked down a little bit by his quality to keep the ball in the yard, and then by the potential presence of Manaea at those low totals. 4.19 implied on the Mets side of that one. They're going up against Michael King. King went 5 in his return to action the last time out, gave up 2 earned runs on 2 solo homers, struck out just 2. I gave him 5 back in this one. Doesn't look great against a decent Mets lineup, even though they can't win ball games. There are still a lot of talented players in that team. The Blue Jays, in this game, there are several rain spots. Atlanta-Washington game 2 is not on either slate, fortunately. This game has green-yellow for rough. There's rain in the area, but it seems like it's fine. The Seattle at KC game is the ugliest-looking one, and then a little bit of weather in Miami, Colorado, apparently. Just so I don't have to scroll back up to it. Jose Barrios on the mound in that ballpark in Tampa, definitely looking like a target for some Tampa bats. We're drawing a little bit of power around the obvious guys on Tampa. Barrios always in play as a target, but occasionally breaks off good starts. He's had a couple okay ones in a row, sandwiched around a 2-inning outing in which he gave up 6 runs total. Only 2 of them earned, so 4 unearned runs. Struck out 2, walked 2, gave up 5 hits, and was out of the game after 14 hitters. Not sure exactly what happened there. 6-run game going back a little bit, 2 home runs in that one. He gives up a lot of power, decidedly mediocre middle of the board type pitcher. On the Rays side, it's Ryan Pepiot, capable starter. He's got a 4.27 implied total on the other side, and I just don't love the spot for Pepiot because of the opponent. I just don't like tangling with that Blue Jays team. They're low strikeout, it's high scoring, very solid team. So seems like a no spot for Pepiot. He's also been relegated to just 5 innings, even though he's been pitching really well in his last 3. In his last 3 starts, 5 innings each, 16, 18, and 18 hitters against the, doing it in that order, it would be the Cardinals 3 starts ago, the Nationals in between, and then the Guardians. 2 hits allowed over those 3 starts combined, 1 each to the Cards and the Nats. Struck out 3, 6, and 6. Walked a few in that stretch, but has been fantastic. But it's been that and then out of the game after 5. So little concern about just protecting that precious arm down there. The kid's very good. Mariners at the Royals. It's another spot. I don't love the low strikeout Royals and the pretty talented Royals in general. Logan Gilbert, excellent starter. 8 strikeouts in just 4 2/3 against the Cards last time out. Gave up 5 hits, only 1 run, walked 1. 7 strikeouts to start before that. 1 earned run on 5 hits over 6 to the Braves. Little bit of downside from going after the Royals. Does cut into him a little bit projection-wise. But a very, very solid pitcher. 3.78 implied total on the KC side. And then Seattle drawing one of the top spots on the board as far as projections go in the stack rankings, going up against Michael Wacha. Wacha is a capable enough veteran starter. He's got a 3.45 ERA, but a 4.51 xFIP that I think is a little bit more targetable there. And the Mariners are just very good at compiling runs. The Yankees rating out, unfortunately, as one of the top teams on the board. They are very hit and miss lately. We get big-time wipeouts like against Simeon Woods Richardson of all people last night. Tonight they're going up against Zebby Matthews, who's a better pitcher, definitely a talented guy. He projects out okay on his side. I could see him blazing through these Yankees, finding a nice strikeout total, but he is historically a little bit vulnerable to the home run ball, and the Yanks are showing massive power against drawing the top projections on the slate at nearly a 5-run total once again. Once they get up at or near 5 runs, it's almost impossible to keep them out of the top spot without really putting my finger on the scale, which I just refuse to do. Orioles and the White Sox. Oh, and then for the Yankees, it's Cam Schlittler going up against that Twins team. 4.12 implied total. They're also showing a little bit of power. Schlittler can got for home run balls. He has had a little bit of a walk issue as well. Had that during this minor league stretch. Decent for strikeouts, but there's downside with that against a capable enough Twins team. He's on the board, though. Orioles and the White Sox. A sub-4 implied total for the Orioles is kind of interesting. They're going up against Shane Smith, and then it's Dean Kramer on the mound for them, pushing a 4.09 total in the direction of the White Sox. I kind of see that one the other way around. It's very close either way. There's not much daylight between those two totals, but not a lot to love there. I think we can consider a little piece of anything from that game while not necessarily desiring any of them. The Angels and the Brewers. Brewers looking fantastic. They're going up against Caden Dana, who's been incredibly vulnerable at the major league level so far. 2 home runs, 5 earned runs on 5 hits over 4 2/3 against the Twins the last time out. Did strike out 9 in that game, but also walked 5. Wildly all over the place. So definitely like some upside there for the Brewers. Home run pick of the day coming out of their side. And then Freddie Peralta checking the opponent down to the lowest team total on the day. 3.29 implied for the Angels. Super high strikeout team. Freddie, the form has mostly been intact outside of his last start at Texas. He gave up 5 earned. He struck out 9, but allowed 2 home runs, 6 hits in that game, 5 earned runs. Obviously problematic where you find Freddie. But for a stretch before that, he had not allowed an earned run for 5 starts in a row, while striking out 8 twice, 6 twice, and 7 once. Been very, very good and is a premium starter against a super high strikeout lineup. So one of the top options on the pitching board. Reds against the Cards. Andrew Abbott against Michael McGreevy. Mix and match options on both of those pitchers. The Cardinals at a sub-4 implied total. Not super interested in. The Reds maybe against the high contact version of Michael McGreevy, the high contact starter, I should say. Maybe we get to some Reds bats at a 4.15 implied total. Texas and the Astros. It is Merrill Kelly, who's been outstanding through most of the season. Challenged by a very good opponent here, but he's got them checked down under a 3.8 and a 3.71 implied total. Looking tremendous. Aaron Judge playing the field on consecutive days for the first time since his elbow injury. Hurrah. That's a good sign. Merrill Kelly, tremendous option, but a tough opponent there, but excellent showing in the Vegas total. No issues with playing Kelly. And then AJ Bluba, he's pushing just a 3.88 implied total toward the Rangers that I am not entirely sure we're looking at correctly here. For one, he threw an inning 4 days ago in that spot where he was coming in relief. I think we're looking at him for like 3 or 4. He's pushing a lot of power. The Rangers are one of the leading teams on the power index today. Maybe they don't come away with a ton of runs. Maybe it's not a big success and they hit 2 home runs, but they don't really matter. But I don't love that spot for the way that Vegas total looks at sub 4. It's at least a half a run shy, if not more. So Texas kind of interesting. Bluba, not really. Jody Perez on the mound for the Marlins, just pitching at Coors Field. Not anybody's idea of a good spot. Kyle Freeland going back the other way. Highest total of the slate does go to the Marlins, but they're down like 3rd, 4th on the stacks board. If you take a look, just the way that team projects out, even at Coors Field versus the way that some of these other teams project out. They don't average toward the top spot, but it's obviously an excellent play and it's going to be pretty popular today going against Freeland. Perez is a wild card. He's got the stuff to blaze through that Rockies team on the right day. Good strikeout pitcher on the right day. Does have some downside. 7 earned runs 2 starts ago at Washington. 5 the start before that at the Mets. Only lasted 2/3 of an inning in that one. Last time out, 5 2/3 against Washington. Gave up 3 earned in that one, but at least struck out 7, but allowed 7 hits. A lot of downside with Yodi. So I don't know that we play with that one. Giants at the Diamondbacks, it's Tristan Beck as an opener and a pure opener, probably 2-3 maybe innings. He went a couple innings just a few days ago. 2 innings on the 13th. Prior to that, it was just 2 innings back on the 8th. So he was on 5 days rest that day. And he is a typically 2-3 inning bulk reliever. So 3 would be my upside. He has gone 4 in 2 appearances. He went 4 once and he actually went 4 1/3 all the way back in mid-July. But I don't think it's a spot we want to play. And then after him, it's just going to be a pure bullpen game. And then Erod, the total roller coaster on the mound for the Diamondbacks. 4.32 implied total for the Giants. 4.78 implied total for a pretty good looking Diamondbacks lineup. And then 2 low totals out west to end the night with the Phillies and the Dodgers. 2 high scoring teams. But Shohei Ohtani against Christopher Sanchez. Obviously, we lean a little bit pitching there. Sanchez on the mound for the Phils, keeping the Dodgers at a 4.04 implied total. Plenty of firepower in their lineup, but you don't get Shohei today in the lineup because he's on the mound. He looks pretty good. 4 or 5 innings against the Phils. Got up to a very large pitch count a couple 2 starts back. And then the most recent one only went 3 2/3 through 70 pitches. But the start prior to that, his first 5 inning performance was against Cincinnati. Through 87 pitches, went 5 innings, struck out 9. If he's got that kind of a leash, I'm always going to be at least a little intrigued. We'll see what the Phillies roll out lineup wise. Just given that they're not playing for anything now. Let's get into the pitching board again here. Did not sort it. So Beck just down pure opener level at the bottom there. I'm not really interested in Clay Holmes. Again, just he's fading for innings. He's fading for quality. The strikeouts haven't been great throughout the season. And with the idea that he's going to be at least piggybacked at some point by Sean Manaea, even if it's just for an inning or 2, we're just taking the upside away from a guy who already was kind of lacking it. And he's going up against the tough opponent. Caden Dane is a hard no. We're just targeting him with Brewers bats, I think. Even if he finds those same strikeouts like last time, that came with nothing. I mean, the walks erased it, the terrible performance for runs, and he gives up a ton of power. Bluba, I'm not really seeing. I don't think we get enough innings even at those low prices. And the way that Texas is looking in the model, I think we just go against. Freeland's a pretty hard no at Coors Field, but if anybody could succeed there against a Marlins team that's kind of lower middle of the board at best, Freeland's cheap. Walk against Seattle, I'm drawing a lot of Seattle. I think he's capable of beating that team. But I don't know that that's one we necessarily want to play with the way that he's priced, 79, 72. If he was in the 6s, maybe we could dabble a little bit more on DK. But we've got options. Like if you're willing to play with some fire, Jody Perez at 6,300 up the board a few spots. There's not, though, you should notice a ton of daylight between that and that. Right? 2 points, not exactly gigantic. So that little plateau of guys there, I would say, is playable. You could throw Freeland into that mix at that very, very low price at 53. Again, if you're willing to do this, you'd probably be willing to do that on the other side. Yuri is the much better pitcher. McGreevy, more of a target. Again, a low strikeout pitcher. Not that interested, but very cheap as an SP2 on DK. Barrios, definitely interested in targeting with Tampa bats, but I could see him getting through that team for 6 decent innings. He's capable of that. The average pitcher is going to have some good starts along the way as well. 74, 8,000, inoffensively priced. I think that's a reasonable spot to maybe consider like a difference in potential quality. You got to get a little bit luckier, I think, to bullseye one of those guys. More gambling down here, where Barrios gives you at least a little bit more of a stable floor. Erod is less stable than maybe anybody on the board, but has tremendous upside at 6,500. If he comes out as top form Erod, that's a good spot. Joker just ran over all excited. He didn't bark. He just ran over here behind me. He's all like puffle. I don't know. Maybe that means stay away from Erod. Got to interpret these things. Shane Smith against Baltimore. Again, that is all right, buddy. All right. Shane Smith apparently got his attention. There are some strikes there, but I don't love that spot. I'm kind of more intrigued by bats. I think that is a low-end 4 corners game at best. Pepio at 89 is kind of a no on FanDuel just because I think we're limiting ourselves to those 5 innings, and it's a really tough opponent to find any strikeouts against. 79 on DraftKings also doesn't necessarily work against this price board. Kramer, I think, is interesting at 69 on DraftKings. There are definitely some strikeouts on deck for him there and a weak opponent. I see that as a generous price. I think FanDuel got it more correct at that 86. He could be a little bit cheaper on FanDuel. I'd be more interested at like 82, 8,000, but I think he's at least in play. Zebby, high danger spot against the Yanks, but there's more meat on the bone here for Zebby. There's visible ceiling for strikeouts into the 30 plus points, into the 15, 18 point range over here. Just a tremendous amount of downside if the Yankees get to him, obviously, for a little bit of premium contact, which they're fantastic at, and he does allow. King against the Mets, just high priced for what the quality looks like right now and what the depth is probably going to look like against a good Mets lineup. So I'm a little challenged by those numbers. A tremendous pitcher. Could go out if he gets 6 today, maybe, but the pitch count over his 5 was fairly low. I think it was sub 70. So I don't love that. Again, this is just a really cheap option. The quality's all over the place, and it's Coors Field. Play with fire. Shoei's really cheap on FanDuel at 77. 8,000 on DraftKings. I think it's still a better DraftKings play because the quality start doesn't matter as much over there. You were almost certainly, even with that 86 pitch count that we saw 2 starts back, you're almost certainly not getting a complete 6 innings out of Shohei Ohtani here. What you could get still for your money on FanDuel is a solid strikeout performance over 5, though. He could be tremendous in 5 innings, book the win, and be all right. It's just even there, he's still got to beat all those guys, and there's some quality showing there. So I don't love it on FanDuel. I think it's in play, though, given his strikeout potential at that cheap price. You just need some of these guys to not necessarily connect. I think it's easy to expect Cam Schlittler not necessarily to connect. 94 feels a little pricey for the kid. He is good. A lot of strikeout stuff there, but also some downside around contact, around walks. That Twins team is good enough to beat him. There's some solid left-handed power in that lineup that I'd be concerned about as well. 8,200 on DraftKings, totally different proposition. That is a good price for the strikeout upside that Cam Schlittler comes with. It's kind of the same thing with Abbott. I don't love Abbott at 92. Just steady average with some downside. 85 on DraftKings. I'm a little bit more interested. That Cardinals lineup, very mediocre. We've been happy to go after them most slates this year. Texas against Houston, again, not a great target for Merrill Kelly, but he's been more than quality throughout the season and good enough to beat this team. So I like where he's at here, and there's probably a little upside. 87 feels generous there. Honestly, 91, a little bit generous given the form he's been in all year. And then our 3 top options. Trip base is up top. I think between the 3, Freddie is the most visibly obvious. For one, he's offset from the other 2 by a couple few points on both sides. He's also the least expensive of the group on FanDuel. He's the most expensive of the group on DraftKings, which makes sense. He's pitching against a crazy gettable Angels lineup. The one thing we've got to fade, as always with that team, is their immense power downside or upside. So that's the downside for Freddie. If he gets hit, at those prices, 1 3-run home run can change your day pretty quickly at those prices. Gilbert, just a low strikeout opponent that cuts into his projection a little bit. Typically, he'd be higher against 28 of the other teams in baseball than he lands against the Royals, but easily good enough to get through that team for 7 good innings. Chrissy Sanchez, anywhere between 6 and a complete game is in the cards for him. Pitches deep into games, tremendous talent. Obviously a tough opponent. 10-2 is a little bit rough on FanDuel. 95 on DraftKings feels a little bit generous for the upside. Interesting pitching board. It's deep. It peaks really, really high. Right? I would put Kelly like just a notch down. He's that guy who couldn't climb that last little edge up to the peak, but he got most of the way up the mountain with these guys. And then some other guys, waiting down a little bit further down. Reasonable plateau with a lot of question marks, and then just, death down the bottom. But it's a deep slate. And we start with Padres Mets. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Monty's here. Monty's the Joker whisperer. Monty says Joker works again when Terry goes over Landon Sosa today, as well as his support for Shane Smith, and get ready for a South Side takeoff. Yeah, Monty, that's what I was kind of saying with, who knows what the Phillies roll out there, whether they're completely hungover. But yeah, the Phils clinched the East last night, so they're not really playing for anything. I'm not sure if seeding is totally locked in or whatever, but yeah, presumably an off day for Philly would at least be in the cards. Not something we're projecting, not something we change anything for, but just like expectation wise. And Vegas kind of took care of that for us anyway. The pitching kind of took care of us that for us anyway, because they come into the game with a sub-4 implied total. So we just don't have to worry about it that much. I think the pitching is very, very interesting in that game, though. All right, deep breath, because we're going to do a lot of talking. We're going to try, like I said, to get through in a hurry. We've got about an hour. We can go a little past 6, but I don't want to go too far past 6. I like to have the stuff updated on the site by like 6:30. The website, by the way, rotoscouts.com for anybody who's new. Football and baseball going on right now. Both are included for under $1 a day. Access on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly plan to check it out. If you pick up a weekly right now, you get through next football weekend and into next week. Monday Night Football included. Every single football game between now and then, plus every baseball main slate. Once those renew sometime next month, if you're on a monthly, you pick up NHL. The following month, you pick up NBA. That's the same price, all in under $1 a day. You get access to everything that lands on that website. San Diego Padres in New York to face Clay Holmes. Again, Clay is going to be spelled at some point by Sean Manaea, but it's kind of an undisclosed plan or a non-planned plan. He only went 4 innings in his last one, gave up 4 earned runs to Philly, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. Did strike out 6, walked 3, gave up 2 earned runs over 4 2/3 to Detroit the time before that. Only 5 innings to start before that. His deepest start of any recent outing was 6 1/3 on the 23rd against Atlanta. He gave up 2 earned runs. He struck out just 4 and walked 2. Prior to that, he had not pitched into the 6th since mid-July. So it had been like a full month. Now we're getting almost certainty that we're getting like 4 innings here of Clay Holmes. So 75-78 to face the Padres is a no thank you. But Clay Holmes will be out there for probably 4 innings. And he does have an impact on the Padres upside in terms of the power. 1.84% home runs on the season is very real. Just comes on a 4.6 degree average launch throughout his career. He's been very good at keeping the ball down and in the yard. So takes the home run upside away from the Pods. Even guys like Fernando Tatis coming in, less than half the magic number. If anybody can get to him, a guy like Tatis can certainly do it. Manny Machado would be on that list as well. And this is still a good team for being low strikeout, 18.2% for this confirmed version of the lineup. They're a great bunch of run creators. That's an 8-man average of a 121 WRC plus. So you still can go to the Pods a little bit. I think they're more mixers. I think they're more short stacks or one-offs around the good players. That way you don't have to fully rely on a good sequencing game. You can still pick off the big events from within a team that will need to sequence to find their wins, if that makes sense. They're very affordable as well, though. If you just look at, the top slice 5-man there is only $46.80, and it includes Tatis, Machado, and Merrill, Laureano. So not a bad way to stretch things. With Michael King, again, he did go 5 in the return to action, but it was a short pitch count. Struck out just 2, walked just 1, gave up two runs on 2 solo shots and 3 hits. Faced 19 hitters over 5 innings. I just gave him back the 5. He looks okay, but I think it's one of those spots where we're stuck without ceiling. Unless he surprises and has 90 pitches in the arm and goes 6+ or 6. And it's just a good Mets team on the other side. 4.19 implied total. I know their record has sucked over the last, 82 games or whatever now, half a season. But it is still a good collection of hitters. They're still incredibly dangerous up top. So I don't love the king spot at the prices. I just think those are the wrong prices for what we're getting here. Tatis, 56-36, has 22 home runs, 30 stolen bases, a 129 WRC plus up top. He is your absolute if you're going to Padres at all against Clay Holmes. Luis Arias comes and goes, but again, the second base eligibility, I talked about this the other day. Giving him back second base on DraftKings, I think, is critical for his playability. He really was a step down at first base compared to most other first basemen. At second base, he just kind of fits in much better. 27 with the same eligibility on FanDuel. He's playable as a correlated scoring guy. You want him connected to Manny Machado and maybe one of the guys that follows them. 52-35 is good pricing for Manny. 25 home runs, a 188 ISO, a 125 WRC plus. Been an excellent season. Premium contact has held up all year long. The ISO slipped a little bit, but that's an output-based number. I'm more interested in what the actual just quality of contact compiled over his batted ball events looks like. Sheets, double-digit barrel, same thing for Ramon Laureano at a 13.7 for him. Both guys in the upper mid-40s as far as hard hit rates. Jackson Merrill right there with him. That's a tremendous trio of guys from the middle of the lineup. Again, extra base hits definitely still on the table for against Clay Holmes here, and some productivity against Clay Holmes with the walk rate and the low strikeouts, the contact he'll allow. So chasing that sequencing with those heavy contact guys is still a priority. 19, 23, and 13 home runs across those players, a 120, 141, and a 110 WRC plus. Those guys are excellent. Ryan O'Hearn's no slouch either. Makes good contact, gets on base at a 359 clip, creates runs 22% better than average. Jake Croner with a 372 on base. Either one of those guys, a solid wraparound. Either one of those guys could finish off a mid-lineup stack for you as well. And then Freddie Ferman's doing the catching. He hits for average 260, 307, 346. There's nothing special about that, but just the cheap catcher who can put the ball in play, maybe find success a couple of times at 2,600 kind of makes things work on DraftKings where you need to play the position. Not a priority, but a filler for sure. Frankie Lindor, 55-36, 26 homers, 30 stolen bases, a 186 ISO. I think he went 0 for the week last week, which was concerning for my heads-up match. I did win that first round of the heads-up that I was worried I was punting. I mentioned that on the show, but we're on to the World Series, which is just, again, the side pot. We're also in a very tight race for the overall championship, but you guys don't care about that. Frankie Lindor needs to be a part of it, though. He got to get engaged. Matty Olson's been hitting for me. 55-36 remains excellent pricing for the day-to-day quality you get out of Lindor. 63-44 for this version of Juan Soto, who's been absolutely tremendous for DFS this season. 40 home runs, 32 stolen bases out of nowhere, 396 on base, a 442 xWOBA under the surface, a 156 WRC plus. Juan Soto at any price. But Michael King is a good pitcher for the amount of time he's going to be in there. Pete Alonso, 53-34, is at 34 home runs with a 244 ISO. At some point in there, the pace slowed down for homers, but then he's picked it back up again. Brendan Nimmo makes excellent contact. He's got 23 homers and 12 stolen bases. The on base at 326, I feel is a little low for him if memory serves. At 328 last year before 363. That's the number I was thinking of. So he's normalized down to this 320 level over the last 1,000 or so plate appearances. Something to watch there as far as his go forward for his career, but that's still an okay on base, and he's still a productive ball player. Needs to raise either the on base or the ISO going forward, though, to maintain his quality. Mark Vientos, just 35-29, has 17 home runs, a 191 ISO, excellent premium contact, super cheap every single slate. Take advantage. That is a good bat at very cheap pricing. Brett Beatty's also a good bat at very cheap pricing. 2 spots later, 12.3% barrels, 46.8% hard hits. And Francisco Alvarez at 11.5 and 54.1%. Both those guys have been good. 16 home runs on the board in 400 plate appearances for Brett Beatty, just quietly slugging away. 109 WRC plus. And then Alvarez has 8 in just 240, a 174 ISO, and more importantly, maybe a 342 on base. He's been tremendous, drawing a 10% walk rate. Strikeouts are a little bit up, but the walks going up with it is perfectly fine. 3,100, that's a good bat there. 2,500, it works over here as well. And then Sed Mullins, Phil's counting stats, at worst, decent option from the 9 spot. I do think you can throw some Mets at Michael King and then the Padres bullpen, but both of those are high-end pitchers. So you will have quality on the mound against the Mets here. At best, they're a middle-of-the-board type stack. This probably does, though, go Mets bats, Padres bats, and that's not because of the quality of the pitchers. Again, that's just because of the depth to which these starters are going to pitch. Total wild card that I didn't really... 75 doesn't really work. FanDuel, it's not a great play, and it's 75 over there too. Yeah. Minai is the same price as Clay Holmes, and you're going to get him for probably less time and limited opportunity to win the ball game. So I don't think you go there. If he was in there at like 4,000 mistakenly, then that would be interesting because he comes with tremendous strikeout potential, even against the low strikeout team. But I don't think you go to the Minaya play if he gets in the game at all. Blue Jays lineup's probably in by now. Yanks keep stumbling and letting the Blue Jays hang on. They're down a Bo Bichette lately, but still a very good lineup. High-quality team, 4.27 implied total to throw at Ryan Pepio. Again, Pepio, quality pitcher. He's been on a very solid run, 3.59 ERA and a 4.05 xFIP. The season in itself has been good, 24.6% strikeouts, 8.7% walks, 11.7% swinging strike rate is tremendous. Still has a little bit of an issue around premium contact and home run total, but a sub-4 given this much contact. Maybe a little bit lucky, maybe a little bit just showing the quality and missing some bats along the way. 163, pretty good innings, but now we're limited in the last few to just 5 innings in each one. It's been good, been limiting runs. Again, the last 3 starts, he's gone 5 exactly and allowed 2 combined runs over 3 starts. But 5 innings is probably not going to pay the bills, even at 79 and 89 over here against the Blue Jays team that comes in with a 17.2% strikeout rate. Really challenging. Only Addison Barger, 25%, and Davis Schneider at 28.6. And he draws a ton of walks and he hits for a decent amount of power. So not nothing hitters up at the plate. Only those 2 guys strike out really at all in this lineup. Everybody else super low strikeout. Lizabario, 74, 8,000. You can see the power showing in the heart of the Rays lineup, the guys that we would expect to have some power upside. You've got some significant contributors for getting on base and providing some stolen base potential in Chandler Simpson up top. A little bit of individual contribution from Yandy Diaz is always on the board. But I'd rather attack him with bats, but he's just barely quality enough. Again, the average pitcher does hit the board from time to time. He gives up a little bit too much barrel, which burns him from time to time. 3.58% home runs. He's over the mark here. He's over the mark there. So the premium contact is his biggest flaw right now. But it's resulted in a sub 4% home run rate so far. Probably a little lucky to be at 3.58. 3.99 ERA with a 4.35 xFIP. Average. 20% strikeout, 7.8% walks. A little below average kind of CSW numbers. He's just not great. I think he's loosely playable because he's going up against a team with a 21.7% strikeout rate with some guys that check in quite a bit higher than that. This is offset by the 10% there, the 14% there. Everybody from that spot down, 24.4%. So that is a targetable strikeout lineup, which pushes a little bit of potential toward Barrios. High danger spot, middle of the board type guy. I do think you could roll the dice more so on DraftKings. 8,000 on FanDuel, I struggle with a little bit. Top of the Blue Jays, definitely interesting with George Springer, 58.37, fully priced, but 29 home runs, 16 stolen bases, roared back to life this year, 248 ISO, 161 WRC+. Plus. A very affordable Nathan Lukes in between him and Vladdy, kind of appealing. Luke's hanging on with quality, 100 WRC plus right on the nose, a 323 on base. Nothing special there, but a guy who can at least maybe get on base for us. He's very low strikeout, put the ball in play. He can draw a walk and get on base. So you're looking for a little success and just set the table for Vladdy, for Barger, for the guys who are likely to hit the ball out. 56.35, great pricing for Vladdy. 13.1% barrel, 51.2% hard hit, 301, 395, 490 slash line. More of a hitter than a power hitter this year, but still 23 home runs, a 189 ISO, a 146 WRC plus, and a 409 xWOBA lurking under the surface. He's got a 409 and Springer's got a 416. Their quality is incredibly real. If anything, they might be underperforming at their numbers. Barger at 48 at 3,000. 20 home runs on the season, a 217 ISO, lefty bat with some thunder. 11.8% barrel, 51.4% hard hit. Quality's been a little bit of a roller coaster lately, but he's fairly priced at third base and outfield, and definitely at worst, definitely at best and at worst, the third highest priority in this lineup. Alejandro Kirk makes an argument to be third priority on DraftKings at just 3,800, $1,000 cheaper than Barger. He's held up nicely all season long, 291, 357, 418, a 117 WRC plus. Just a tremendously productive catcher who doesn't strike out, who does draw walks, and hits the ball very squarely for only 3,800 in the heart of a good lineup. That is an excellent pickup on DraftKings. Should be a priority in DraftKings stacks. David Schneider at 38, 26, 11 home runs, gets on base at a great clip. 352 on base, keeps his 129 WRC plus afloat. He's hit those 11 home runs in just 199 plate appearances, so he's got a 226 ISO, tremendous premium contact numbers. The hard hit should be a little higher against that 16% barrel rate. Strikes out a lot, but also draws a ton of walks, like I mentioned, looking like a 3 true outcomes guy. Ernie Clement is more of a slap hitting on base type guy. 279, 314, 401, needs to succeed via BABIP, but very, very low strikeout at 10.8, 4.4% walk, and that's consistent over the last few years. It's just who Ernie Clement is. He puts the ball in play. He's cheap at second base. Cheap at 4 positions on FanDuel, third base, shortstop eligible, and cheap on DraftKings. I'd rather have him than Andres Jimenez, who's just not that great. 7 home runs, 12 steals is the quality that you've gotten out of him so far. Otherwise, very mediocre. Every now and then succeeds. He is low strikeout, though. The low strikeout rate, the medium walk rate is very believable. So you do get balls in play. They're just doesn't really find call it luck, call it good fortune, whatever you want. The ability to direct the ball on the field is probably what it really is with him and Ernie Clement. And then Miles Straw is another kind of flat spot down the bottom of the lineup. Another light hitting, low strikeout, hit for average, find success via BABIP guy. He's also found more success this year than Andres Jimenez has. Does that make him necessarily better? I wouldn't say yes, but he's been more successful, if that makes sense. He's got a lot of speed, so he's capable of beating out base hits, and that's exactly what he's out there doing. A little bit of upside for stolen bases. He's got a dozen on the year, just a 94 WRC plus out of him, 69 out of Jimenez, and 98 out of Ernie. Again, on the Rays side, Simpson gets on base at a 324 clip. He's stolen 40 bags in 400 plate appearances. Tremendous for those two things. Super low strikeout, low walk, a lot of balls in play. They're not well struck at all. They're just little dying quails into the outfield, and he beats him to first base, or he beat a ground ball to the pitcher to first base. But that's all you get out of Simpson. Do not expect home run or anything like that. Correlated scoring with stolen base upside. Johnny can hit one out of the park. 24 homers, a 184 ISO, 130 WRC plus. Then you get to the true power around Brandon Lau and Junior Caminero. I was tempted to make one of those guys the home run pick of the day. Love the upside there for both those hitters. I will have shares of both of them. 28 home runs and 44 home runs for Junior at this point. 281 ISO. Tremendous season for the kid. Josh Lowe, 43, 3,000, has scuffled his way through the season. Sub 300 on base is not characteristic of him. 11 home runs, 17 steals in 401 plate appearances now. Low totals. Been pretty mediocre this year. Difficult to play at those, at 43 at 3,000. I feel like he should be a little bit cheaper given the numbers, but he's been better in years past, so you can justify it. Jake Mangum continues to be low strikeout, decidedly mediocre overall. Gets on base at a good clip, though. 332 on base, 25 stolen bases. Just doesn't have any real power to speak of. 2 home runs across 387 plate appearances, a 94 WRC plus, a 284 xWOB under the surface to speak to the lack of quality. Just getting through. Quad A type player. Tristan Gray's kind of interesting, though. 3 home runs in his 55 plate appearances, a 224 ISO, good numbers in the minors, 18.4% barrels and 50% hard hits. We just need him to keep connecting like that. Not promising anything in the long term, but for this spot against the pitcher like Jose Barrios, that's an interesting guy at that cheap price in the middle infield. Hunter Fiducian, not much of a bat. Bobby Seymour, monster hard hit rate at 48.4% so far. Comes with 36.5% strikeouts, 3.8% walks, which is not great. 52 pretty bad plate appearances out of Bobby so far. We've been looking for the power to arrive. We've been looking for the contact to arrive. Yet to barrel a ball that was pretty stunning. 1 home run despite the lack of barrels, but just a 120 ISO. If you look at him, Bobby Seymour was put on earth to hit baseballs out of parks and not provide much consistency. He's kind of done the opposite so far in the show. He had 30 home runs when they called him up like a month ago in the AAA this year. He's 26. He's a little bit advanced for his age, but just the raw power potential is ridiculous. He's about to be 27, by the way. So as a dart throw against a bad pitcher like Jose Barrios in this park is a big lefty bat with a lot of thunder in it that people are probably by now sleeping on or just disinterested in. Yeah, I'm interested in Bob Seymour. 2,200 on FanDuel, 3,000 on DraftKings. I hate the spot in the lineup. Kind of wish he was like where Jake Mangum is. And I don't really understand why the Rays do that. Even if he is a flat spot, just try and ride the power a little bit. But I'll take him from down there because nobody's going that way. Rays bats. Blue Jays bats. Ryan Pepio, but you're probably not getting ceiling on those projections. Jose Barrios, You're probably getting basement on those projections. Between the two, though, I probably should have Barrios over Pepio just because he does actually have more ceiling. I think Pepio, you're probably clipped at 5 innings. Mariners lineup, I'm sure, is in. All right, did not do those first 2 games at the pace we need to get out of here by 6 o'clock. Let's pick it up. Michael Wacha, 7,200, 7,900 going against the Mariners here. Love the look of the Mariners offense. They're pulling some strong projections against Wacha. He's got a 3.45 ERA, but an attackable 4.51 xFIP. Doesn't really strike anybody out, 17.9%. Not bad as far as walks go, and does induce weak and medium contact, just 33.3% hard hits, 87 miles an hour of exit velo. So he's got that going for him. That does work a little bit against the Mariners, but it's an extreme fly ball trajectory. This team is just loaded with power, good home run hitters who can just find the upside for power, generate their own exit velocity. So love targeting Wacha here. Don't really want to play him 72, 79. You can maybe throw the SP2 dart if you're building 150 lineups on DraftKings. I don't think you need it in a smaller portfolio of lineups. Logan Gilbert at 10,000 at 10.3. Just the low strikeout nature of the Royals clipping his projections slightly. He's tremendous otherwise. 22 starts, a 34% strikeout rate, 6% walks this year, 3.54 ERA, and a 2.73 xFIP. This is a tremendous, tremendous pitcher. We're getting him at a little, probably slight discount for the talent on FanDuel, 10.3 on DraftKings. Perfectly reasonable. It's just, again, against a lot of other teams, he'd be projecting out by another couple few points on top of these numbers because of the strikeout upside. Royals check in at 18.3%, only 2 hitters above 20%, and they're at 20.2 and 21.8. So it's not like you've got, it's a low strikeout rate, but it's cut down by a 10 and a 12, and everybody else is at 24. This team is legitimately low strikeout. But love Gilbert, will play. Mariners bats, Randy Arozarena up top, 49-35, 27 homers, 28 steals, dynamite season, 200 ISO. You get everything you can want out of Randy. He gets on base at a solid clip at 341 to set the table for the guys behind him. Hits for individual power, steals bases, creates runs. Tremendous, tremendous option for the money. Cal Raleigh, 6,200, 4,300, going to be the runner-up in the MVP race this year. 54 home runs, 14 stolen bases. Literally every time he's taken the field all season long, you've been witnessing the best catcher offensive season of all time and the best catcher fantasy season of all time. Fire away. Nothing wrong with the play. He's just very expensive, and there are many, many cheap ways to fill catcher. Julio Rodriguez, 52, 39, 30 home runs, 27 stolen bases. How high can he go? He's ridiculous, especially in the second half, which we are now in. 209 ISO, 126 WRC plus. Not a big believer in like second half, first half being real, but Julio's done it multiple seasons now. Josh Naylor, 46, 35. Dynamite year, 284, 344, 450, 19 home runs, 27 steals, a 120 WRC plus. Jorge Polanco has been tremendous, and his price has been cheap all year, 4,000, 3,000 across sites. Second base just fills that spot so easily when you're going to this Mariners team, and he's held up all season. It's been some dips like over in stretches, but overall the numbers are great. 24 home runs, a 230 ISO, 15% strikeouts is way down for him, showing real signs of growth and quality this year. Unexpectedly, I thought we were done with him. Junior Suarez, 45-35, 45 home runs on the season at 296 ISO. Definitely has taken a little dip since joining Seattle. He doesn't love playing in their ballpark, apparently. But we're on the road here. We've got tons of potential power against a high-contact pitcher like Wacha. Nothing wrong with Suarez, and we get him a little bit lighter price than he should be, and maybe a little bit lighter owned among people who stack Mariners. 10.98 in the home run model today. Dominic Canzone's made great contact all year, 232 very good plate appearances, 7 home runs, a 126 WRC plus, tremendous premium contact numbers. Victor Robles, a capable player for medium 12 home run type power. 40 stolen base upside in a full season. He's only got 5 stolen bases and no home runs over 87 plate appearances in a mostly lost season this year. But a talented guy to keep in mind at 31, at 24 as a spot filler in the outfield. He's way more than that. And then JP Crawford for 34, for 28. Very capable wraparound play given his ability to get on base. Even though it plummeted from like 380, 390 earlier in the year, that's still a tremendous on base percentage from a guy who has made a career out of getting on base. So you just take him, you wrap him back around to Randy, Cal, etc. up top. On the Royal side, I do think they're loosely in play, but it's asking a lot from them this week to beat Logan Gilbert, the rest of this Mariners pitching staff. It's really rough on those of us who need Carlos Estevez with a hurt back to come up with a save hold or two during the week to pad our dynasty scoring or to help our dynasty scoring. But the Royals are a capable team. they're on the list of squads that could get to a pitcher like Logan Gilbert because they can check the strikeout potential down a little bit, draw out some frustration maybe. Mike Yastrzemski up top, low strikeout, 20.2%, but one of the higher guys on this team. Also, the highest walk rate on this team that's not Carter Jensen over a small sample of plate appearances. 511 on the season. He's hit 15 home runs, getting on at a 328 clip. Adequate way to start things off at those prices. He's not bad, but he's not exactly tremendous either. Bobby Witt is tremendous. 57, 4,000. He's got 22 home runs, 36 steals, a 128 WRC plus, matching 209 ISO for him and our guy Vinny Pasquantino in the next spot. How about a round of applause for Vinny and his 30 home runs on the season? That is one of our guys. 209 ISO, 345 xWOB under the surface, down to a 15.8% strikeout rate, 7.2% walk, matches last year's walk rate. I'll take the 3-point increase in strikeouts, given the monster uptick in home runs that we were all over all year. Mikey Garcia at 6% barrels, 45% hard hits, just 12% strikeout, 9.1% walk. Another guy, tremendous season, major growth this year, 16 home runs, 23 steals, 293, 357, 464 slash line, 25% better than average grading runs. Jordan Alvarez, if you didn't see it yesterday, by the way, another stupid injury for Alvarez. Significant ankle sprain, out for an undisclosed amount of time, so that ain't great. But his leg went like as he crossed home plate on a non-play. He was just crossing home plate, and it was one of those things where it's just like, my ankle just decided it doesn't want to work anymore. Sal Perez at 42 at 29, 28 home runs, to go with a 237, 278, 450 slash line that could be a little bit better, especially in the on-base department. Very low strikeout at 19.5% for all the power upside you get. Tons and tons of premium contact. Very low walk, low strikeout equals a lot of this, and that's what we're looking for from a $4,200 catcher. He's got 28 home runs, a 213 ISO on the season. It's been tremendous. Jack Caglianone, 2,400, 2,500. Didn't really deliver on his promise so far, but making great contact. There are things to like here. 6 home runs and 197 plate appearances, just a 128 ISO. The 334 xWOBA definitely speaks to the quality of contact he's made. The medium-high walk rate and the low strikeout rate are in there. But 151, 228, 279, you can see the flaws. Jonathan India is not has not been what they purchased. 8 home runs and 552 plate appearances, just a 325 on base. Lost his job as the leadoff hitter. Mix and match quality guy down lineup. Carter Jensen, you just want Sal Perez here. And then Kyle Isbell, a nothing outfielder, just a mix and match quality guy. Mariners bats. Mariners bats. Logan Gilbert, just because that price against the other aces on the board going up against this team, I don't love, but I do love the pitcher and is a very playable spot. Royals bats against him, next spot down, and then Michael Wacha at the very bottom, probably only playable on DK. Yankees bats are in. They look stupid good again. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I know people hate to see it, but when they come in with like a 5-run total, it is just impossible to suppress their projections. There's a lineup with a group of 6 up top with a average ISO of 262. I'll take both of the guys in the 300s out, and that's still an average ISO of 229. If you're not familiar, 200 plus means you're a ridiculously good power bat. So they do this on their own. It's the same math. I swear I don't put my finger on the scale because it's the Yankees. They just come up. But they can get victimized like we saw from a much worse pitcher yesterday. It's a lot of the time, it's about them rather than the pitcher. But kudos to Simeon Wood Richardson. First time he ever faced the Yankees, he was good yesterday. Zebby's a much better pitcher. 5.06 ERA, but a spectacular 3.62 xFIP under that. 26.2% strikeouts against just 7.2% walks. He's made a big correction as far as the home run output so far. 3.28 this year. Last year it was 6+. 6.21 in his 9 starts in a cup of coffee last year. Allowed a 14% barrel, monster hard hit and exit velo. He's cut the exit velo down, but only just. Hard hits are well down. 9.4% barrels is still a little aggressively high and a 16.1 degree average launch. And to throw this at these guys is where your problems come in. Literally everybody on the Yankees that's not Cody Bellinger has a double-digit barrel rate. Cody Bellinger, even on just 7.8% barrels, has 28 home runs and a 219 ISO. So power's not a problem for him. This does not connect well with that. But Zebby's strikeouts, his ability to miss bats, 12.6% swinging strike rate, definitely collides well with this and their 25.1% strikeout rate. He's not bad for walks, so he's not going to necessarily be losing too many of these guys, but these guys do draw walks aggressively. So kind of call that one a wash. So very much, I think it's a both-sided situation. 7,700, 8,400. You can definitely have shares of Zebby. He's got ceiling on those projections via the strikeout. But it definitely would hedge some with Yankees in other lineups. Between the two, given the explosive upside, the 6 guys in the model above the magic number for home runs, including Aaron Judge, more than double the magic number for home runs, kind of lean Yankees. They were the top team on the stacks board. Cam Schlittler at 82 at 94. 26% strikeouts for him, but a 10.4% walk rate. And walks have been an issue for him down through the minors. Hasn't been bad as far as the home run numbers, but a little bit of premium contact kind of just, hiding under the surface there. Stuff Plus loves him at 116. 3.24 ERA, a 3.81 xFIP. Has been good. 11.8% swinging strikes. I just don't like him against that price on this pitching slate. 8,200 is way, way more usable. Much more on the board and has a little bit of upside on DraftKings. Could play into the 30s on FanDuel, but a lot of guys could, and they have more upside. If you're going Yankees bats, 44-31 remains entirely reasonable for Trent Grisham in the season. He's having a 347 on base, 30 home runs, a 222 ISO, a 127 WRC plus, and hits directly ahead of Aaron Judge, who can easily clear the bases and provide that correlated scoring upside. 48 homers on the season, a 449 on base percentage, 351 ISO. Don't ever let anybody tell you he's not the best bat in baseball by like 20%. 4,500, 3,100 for Ben Rice. 15% barrels, 55.9% hard hits, 23 home runs, a 232 ISO, a 407 xWOB under the surface. Ben Rice is absolutely tremendous. Discerning hitter at sub 20% strikeout, nearly a 10% walk rate, just speaks to the quality. Excellent, excellent option in the 3 spot for a very fair price. Cody Bellinger at 48-33, as mentioned, doesn't hit the ball particularly hard via barrel's hard hit rate, but comes away with plenty of power, 28 home runs, a 219 ISO, plenty of extra base hits, low strikeout at 13%, medium walk rate at 8. Solid number of opportunities there to succeed. Giancarlo Stanton, just 5,000, 3,500. 20 home runs in 239 chances, the 308 ISO, absurd premium contact. Jazz Chisholm, 29 home runs, 30 stolen bases this year, 40-40 in his first 162 games as a Yankee. Just absolutely tremendous pickup for this team. 13.45, one of the leaders in the home run model. 242 ISO on the season, a 127 WRC plus. Just absurd. Ryan McMahon is cheap at 3,200, 2,900. I continue to be very intrigued by the McMahon option at third base, which he can hold down pretty effectively against other third basemen when it comes to power, upside, etc. I really like that as a way to cheapen up Yankee stacks. He fits in very nicely, especially if it's a situation where I can't quite reach Jazz. I could still get extended at third base with him. I love the option to put both of them in a lineup at second and third on FanDuel. Same positioning on DraftKings, but you don't have the flexibility on Jazz. Anthony Volpe has mostly lost this job, but he's in the lineup tonight. Still okay for counting stats. 19 homers, 16 stolen bases, just a 188 ISO and 81 WRC plus. Mostly sucks. Austin Wells does make good premium contact, though. Austin Wells also good premium contact, 21 home runs. Just ignore most of the triple slash there. We're just looking for a cheap catcher home run if we roster Austin Wells at all. On the Twins side, Byron Buxton's a superstar by any measure. 31 home runs, 22 steals, a 282 ISO. He's ridiculous. Austin Martin at 38-27. Solid bat, 293, 393, 397, a 126 WRC plus. You can easily go there for a fair price against a gettable enough guy like Schlittler, and he draws a lot of walks. So I would want to focus on some of the guys that are going to be on base via the walk as I pad out this stack. Trevor Larnach and Cody Clemens from the left side, plenty of power there. Clemens has 19 home runs and 345 plate appearances, including a 3 home run day the other day. Trevor Larnach at 16 home runs, a 152 ISO, a 103 WRC plus, and has more premium contact upside than that. Double-digit barrels each of the last 2 years, but not this year. Royce Lewis, moderate success this year with 12 home runs and 10 stolen bases and 360 plate appearances, just an 86 WRC plus. Not a lot not to like, but he has been sub 20% strikeout. Interesting premium contact numbers at worst. Matt Wallner, 13.6% barrel, 45.9% hard hit with 22 home runs and 386 chances this year, a 263 ISO. There is tons of thunder there. Monster lefty bat to throw at Cam Schlittler if we get the downside of Schlittler for power. Mickey Gasper, not much of a bat. 102 pretty bad plate appearances so far. Just a mixer at best as a cheap catcher. Ryan Fitz and James Outman down the bottom of the lineup. I'm interested in Outman, even though he's been terrible this season. 40% strikeouts. He has hit 4 home runs, including as the home run pick of the day, one of those. 183 ISO over 115 plate appearances. 15.5% barrel is what I'm looking for from the left side for a cheap outfield bat. He'd be like a third man in a short 3-man that was like him, Wallner, Clemens, something like that. Or if you're going 5, you can obviously take Buxton at the top of that, keep cheap pricing through here, and bolt him on, and you're still very cheap. That would in fact be, let's go like 1. I would want Wallner. I would want Cody. And I got one more guy there, right? Yeah, I'm at 4,000. I would probably default to just fill the outfield by taking one of those two. And if the 200 makes a difference, it doesn't really matter. But for me, I'd probably just go with Trevor Larnach and the power upside there. And we're at 4,020, so 4,100 for the 5-man. That's reasonable. There is enough upside, and all those guys do have some pretty good premium contact. Not much ability to draw the walk, but a couple guys in double-digit walk rates, a couple guys in the upper single digits. So some. I don't like the 94 for Schlittler on FanDuel. Yankees bats. Cam Schlittler on DraftKings. Zebby Matthews on both sites. Twins bats. Cam Schlittler on FanDuel. Orioles lineup is in. There it is. All right, Shane Smith, 22.3% strikeouts and a very solid 11.9% swinging strike rate. That is what puts him on the board. And the Orioles' just general mehness, I guess, puts him on the board a little bit. 25% strikeout rate for that opposing lineup as well. Not a bad target there. But I think everybody's kind of aware of that 7,000, 8,300. I don't think there's much that's special about Shane Smith. And he comes with plenty of downside. I mean, look at the ridiculous hard hit rate for one, the exit velocity. Both of those are alarmingly over our threshold. He does keep the barrels down, but it doesn't exactly come because of a very low launch angle. 3.02% home runs should probably be higher. 4.47 xFIP is attackable, nearly a 10% walk rate to go with the only moderate output for strikeouts. This is entirely average despite the good swinging strike number. Bad CSW despite the good swinging strike number. So is there really anything here? I don't think so. That's why I think the Orioles ought to be a little bit higher as far as that implied total. Dean Kramer is more interesting to me on the other side. 4.43 ERA, 4.17 xFIP, 20.1% strikeouts is not great, but it's not all that dissimilar here. 6.2% walks is very different from his opponent. 10.2% swinging strikes for him as well. 3.19% home run that I believe in a lot more. 36.2% hard hits, 88.4 miles an hour of exit velo on average. A little bit of barrel, a little bit of fly ball in there, but it hasn't been problematic for him. And we've seen Dean Kramer succeed. We've seen him be better than this. 22% strikeouts last year, 4.10 ERA, about a 4.34 xFIP. Gave up a little bit of premium contact that season, but was tremendous at limiting hard hit, limiting exit velo to even more success than this year. Year before, kind of similar. Gave up a little bit more hard hit and exit velo that year. 21.4% strikeouts. This is a solid average type pitcher. I don't think there's a lot of daylight, honestly, between him and Jose Barrios. 6,900 to target the White Sox here. Kind of like that. They got a 21.4% strikeout. Some of that is bolstered by a couple lower guys. You got 23 and 30 right there. You do have 5 targets in this lineup that average out to a 25.2% strikeout rate. So something to keep in mind. There are some high strikeout targets. Some of them are their more dangerous bats. Colson Montgomery, namely. But Kramer loosely on the board at 69 on DraftKings. Definitely a dart throw for value. 8,600 on FanDuel, I think, shows the quality, but also makes him a lot less interesting on the blue site. But that price difference, I think, should demonstrate the quality of pitcher that you can get here. That's an average enough guy to throw at this White Sox team. No guarantees. They could easily get him. That's what happens, again, with average pitchers. Half of them are going to be downside. Orioles bats, Jackson Holiday, Jeremiah Jackson, Gunnar Henderson. Decent way to start things out. Jeremiah has found some success. 5 home runs, a 177 ISO, a 116 WRC plus, but a concerning sub 300 xWOB over his first 148. A little bit of success via BABIP, a couple of early fly balls that got out of the yard, but the contact is good. I'm kind of interested, and he's very, very cheap. Third base and outfield on DraftKings. Shortstop on FanDuel is not great because it conflicts with Gunnar. You can get them both still, but you got to use up that util spot. So I don't like that. Prefer the positioning on DK. 44-31 for Jackson Holiday, who has 17 homers, 17 steals, a 103 WRC plus. He's entirely adequate at worst. Gunnar, sub 5,000 on DK, 3,100 on FanDuel. Seems very fair. 346 on base, 16 home runs, 23 steals. Still their best player, even though that's been a little bit of a dip in talent year over year for him. 351 xWOB under the surface, making great contact. Still excellent option at shortstop. Jordan Westberg at third base, 4,500, 3,000 across sites. Has second base on FanDuel, 15 home runs on the board, a 198 ISO, 123 WRC plus. Fills positions pretty well. 11.1% barrel, 43.8% hard hit. Not bad to throw at a pitcher like Shane Smith. Dylan Beavers from the left side, mix and match option over 96 plate appearances. Colton Cowser, 15 home runs, but a pretty weak 202, 271, 394 slash line to go with it. Has had 10 stolen bases, but not the season we've been looking for outside of the home run total in 325 plate appearances. Sub 200 ISO is not great for him. He needs to be better as far as consistency of power, but he's very cheap for the upside for power from the left side of the plate against this pitcher. So definitely will be included in my plans if I'm going to the Orioles. Maybe not a priority reason to go to the Orioles. Kobe Mayo, 23-24 across sites have been pretty bad, over 255 chances, 77 WRC plus, a concerning 281 xWOBA. Sammy Basayo, not really coming through at the major league level yet, probably not fully cooked. Interesting contact so far in his batted ball events, but that's about it. Hasn't found much success for it. And then Dylan Carlson, just a mix and match outfielder at the absolute best, and hasn't even held up to that level over 230 plate appearances this year. If you're going to the White Sox, Madruff is a not bad option for a little bit of contact, a little bit of on base, table setter, but not much more than that out of the leadoff spot. Kyle Teal gets on base at an aggressive clip, 376. He's also got 7 home runs and 256 chances. That's a reasonable option to fill catcher, but he's up to 4,000 now, 27 on FanDuel where you don't really need the position. Colson Montgomery's got ludicrous power upside, 14.1% barrels on the season, 18 home runs and a 292 ISO and 236 plate appearances. But Dean Kramer, again, doesn't give up a ton of premium contact. He can give up the home run, but it's not because he gives up tons and tons of barrels, tons and tons of hard hits. Miguel Vargas at 38, 3,000 mix and match quality, 14 homers in an otherwise terrible season. Mike Tauchman gets on base a lot, 353 on base. A little bit of power upside, but not the best spot in the lineup for his skill set. Lenin Sosa. I said Lenin Sosa. No, he's napping. He's disinterested, Monty. Lenin Sosa's on the board, 3,900, 2,700, 20 home runs, a 165 ISO. Always in play, but no longer a secret. Prices are remaining fairly low, though. Benintendi, not as good as those 19 home runs might look. 185 ISO, 99 WRC plus. 328 xWOBA kind of betrays the averageness of the player. Edgar Kettle, a playable catcher, 342 on base is his best attribute so far, 103 WRC plus. Solid 45.8% hard hit for a cheap price, though. That is a talented kid. And then Brooks Baldwin, 9 home runs, mix and match quality guy at the bottom of the lineup. This, to me, goes... It's 4 corners, but they're kind of 4 not necessarily desirable or necessary corners. But among that, I would say probably, and it's more like 6 or 8 corners here, Dean Kramer on DraftKings, Shane Smith on DraftKings, Orioles bats, White Sox bats, Dean Kramer on FanDuel, Shane Smith on FanDuel. It's ugly. Major spot here as far as the pitching board. Angels lineup is in. Ooh, Oswald Peraza in the leadoff spot. That's not going to go well. Brewers lineup is not yet in. Big spot for Brewers bats as well here. So all things Milwaukee. If you need to walk out the door right now, that's the information to take from this game. Angels, the only real threat here is their ridiculous power upside. They do have a bunch of dudes who hit home runs. But they also have a bunch of dudes who strike out, and they've got Carter Kaboom now. This team just loves picking up castoffs and guys from other teams. I think he's actually been on the roster for a minute now that I think about it. But another guy who once upon a time, good prospect from the Nationals organization. Oswald Peraza was a good prospect from the Yankees organization. They reclaimed Mickey Moniak and resurrected his career. That's something they try and do out there, kind of modeled after Tampa Bay's ability to do that a little bit. So maybe you got to watch, but right now, Carter Kaboom does not appear to be on your DraftKings slate. Mid priced on FanDuel. No stats for the season in cups of coffee in the past. No stats last year either. 94 plate appearance cup of coffee all the way back in 2023. He hit 4 home runs in those 94 plate appearances. Is that all we've gotten at the major league level from him? We've had... Is it further back? Yeah, it was 2021. He made 249 plate appearances. Similarly poor, 111 ISO, a 70 WRC plus, 6 home runs in that stretch. 122 plate appearances in that short 2020 season. But has never found it at the major league level, suffice to say, and doesn't look available on DraftKings. Denzer Guzman, dead min price on DraftKings at shortstop. Same thing on FanDuel. 6 pretty good plate appearances so far. No idea. Probably Denzel or something like that. He's just 21, 17 homers, 14 stolen bases, and 539 chances across AA and AAA this season. Slashing just 247, 343, 426 in that, though. 25% strikeouts against 11.5% walks. Feels dicey. That spiked to 29.4 on the strikeout, but went to 13.7 and 153 AAA plate appearances. Hit 6 home runs, stole 6 bases after the promotion. And again, very young to be in the show already, but probably given the strikeout and that he needed to succeed via walk a little bit to get to his numbers, don't love it at this level. 6 okay plate appearances so far, 333, 333, 333, and 85 WRC plus. Bryce Tedosio kind of just here for defense. Christian Moore, another player, has not aggressively promoted and has not really clicked at the major league level. Sub Mendoza, sub 300 on base, not that interesting. They're giving Freddie a pretty good version of this lineup to attack here. You've only got a couple of their good bats. Mike Trout at 4,000, at 3,000. It's Mike Trout at those cheap prices that's still appealing. 21 home runs at 186 ISO. The ISO is really disappointing given the premium contact that he's made all season long. Makes him look worse than maybe he's been. Still draws a 16% walk rate, but the numbers, there's obviously some downside there. 115 WRC plus puts him well above average for run creation. A cheap Taylor Ward, a cheap Joe Adell at 39, at 41. You've got a ton of power there. That is a very solid home run total. 236, 264 ISO. You just got to kind of ignore everything else that those guys do as far as the inconsistency. And then Logan O'Hoppe at 31, at 25, 19 home runs on the board, a 169 ISO, a 76 WRC plus. Peraza, Sub Mendoza, a 234 on base. I have no idea what he's doing in the leadoff spot. If you're going Angels and choosing to attack Freddie and what will probably be very high ownership, those are the 4 guys you want to do it with. And then pick your poison as far as a 5th if you need one. It is not a good opportunity today. 3.29 implied total, the lowest on the board, because Freddie comes in with a 27.5% strikeout rate, a 2.69 ERA, but a 3.93 xFIP, 9.4% walk rate. But what Freddie's tremendous at, limiting premium contact. Look at that inducement of weak and medium contact, 2.68% home runs, despite some fly balls, some barrels in there. That is a very real low home run rate. Excellent option on the mound for either price. Maybe a little bit of a discount over there. Projects out at the very top of the board today. Offset by a couple points. On the other side, Caden Dannon, basically the exact opposite. Ridiculous walk rate. There are strikeouts there. Again, he came away with a few strikeouts in the last game, but a 5.63% home run rate in the show so far. It was an issue for him in the minors as well. 10% barrels, 42.5% hard hits, 90.8 miles an hour of exit velo. We're just looking to attack Caden Dannon. Maybe it doesn't go our way, but the Brewers are a low strikeout team, so the strikeout probably doesn't impact us all that much. They're a high walk team, so the walk definitely in play. 9.3% for the full lineup here, and a solid stretch right there of double-digit walk guys. Some excellent bats up top. All things Brewers fire away. Home run pick is in this lineup. 4,000, 3,000 for Sal Frelick. Not a bad option. 359 on base, 117 WRC plus, 19 stolen bases. He's found a little bit of premium contact and power this season. It's a very interesting table setter up top for those prices. Bryce Turang, 4,800, 3,300 is quadrupled his barrel rate and pushed his hard hit rate to nearly double year over year. 18 home runs, 24 stolen bases, a 353 on base. Just a 152 ISO that could be a little higher given the contact he's making, but that is a different version of Bryce Turang than we've seen in years past. Still stealing bases, still getting on, adding power to the mix. 344 xWOBA, 122 WRC plus, earned every bit of that 48.33. I think he's fairly priced at those numbers. Not a bad tax. Willie Contreras a little cheap at 46.31, 17 home runs, a 143 ISO is a little bit of a letdown. Still a very high walk rate. Could get to Caden Dana for that. Low strikeout, makes great contact still. Christian Yelich, 10% barrel, 47% hard hit, 28 home runs on the season, a 194 ISO, needs to push up over 200 to really get the respect that he deserves for a tremendous year. 51.36 is not a bad price to find Christian Yelich against this pitcher from the left side. Down the bottom of the lineup, Isaac Collins, 41.28, 9 home runs, 16 steals, a ridiculous 368 on base to reset the table for a guy like Jake Bauers in the spot behind him. Bauers in 192 plate appearances, 7 home runs, 7 steals, a 172 ISO, a 106 WRC plus, 13.9% barrels, and 46.3% hard hits. This is a guy who can hit home runs and steal bases. It's a really interesting player for 35.28. Think like a Josh Naylor light. Caleb Durbin, mix and match quality, but gets on base at a solid 337 clip, has 11 home runs, 15 steals, a 109 WRC plus. And then Joey Ortiz is kind of a weak spot at the bottom of the lineup, but that is a rock solid 8-man lineup if this is what they roll out. And I didn't talk about the guy up here in the 2 spot, 49.35 for Jackson Chourio, 20 home runs, 18 steals, a 283, 18, 484 slash line, a 204 ISO, 120 WRC plus, sub 20% strikeout this year. And that was supposed to be like a problem for him. 9.3% barrel, needs to climb a little bit, 41.7% hard hit. This kid will find more power as we move forward. Still very, very young. 11.13 to lead the team, and the home run pick of the day, Jackson Chourio. Love the Brewers, all things Brewers today. Freddie, Brewers bats, Freddie, either way, top priorities either way. Angels bats would be above Caden Dana, but only just. Neither one of those looks good. Reds and the Cards. Greg being Cohn, sorry to be trying to fire through here and not really talking to you guys in the chat, but appreciate everybody. But to address Greg being Cohn asking, do we like Peralta better than Gilbert on FanDuel? Yes, I would say 300 cheaper for one, and just the target that he gets to facing the Angels is just such a better matchup, especially that version of the Angels lineup that has 3 or 4 minor leaguers or guys that have already washed out in the show. Yeah, Freddie's definitely rock solid option. And just look at the projection offset. You're talking about a 2 strikeout offset essentially. Gets a major bump by facing that Angels team. Is he the most reliable guy in the world? Do people love playing Freddie Peralta? No, I get it. But yeah, I think the offset there and all of Gilbert, Christy Sanchez, as excellent as they are, and I absolutely love both those pitchers. Christy Sanchez is pitching for the Dynasty team against the Dodgers tonight. Wish I had Logan Gilbert. But they're both facing much better opponents. KC, super low strikeout. Dodgers are the Dodgers, and they're also low strikeout. Same thing applies for Merrill Kelly against that fairly low strikeout, fairly high quality, even without Jordan Alvarez. That's a good Astros lineup. So I do think that Freddie is believably offset and worthwhile offset at the top of the board from the rest of the top of the board. 549. I can't help but talk long about these games. All right, Michael McGreevy, not all that playable here. He's got a low walk rate. That's the one thing that works for him. 3.6% walk rate is terrific, but it comes with a 14.2% strikeout rate, 4.44 ERA, 4.21 xFIP, loads of premium contact. Hasn't resulted in a ton of power against the launch angles. Not terrible, but a 10 degree average launch with 7.1% barrel, 90 miles an hour of exit velo, gettable enough for home runs, and at worst, gettable for some sequencing here, which the Reds not necessarily great at. They don't really draw walks, but that's not going to be an issue against him. They do strike out a little bit, but that's also not going to be an issue against him. So where the rubber meets the road comes down to the premium contact. If they're going to be making contact, what kind of contact do they make? Well, a lot of these guys have double-digit barrel rates down here for very cheap prices, although Elliott 5,400, 3,900 is for some reason relegated to the 7 spot against this pitcher, which completely boggles the mind. I don't understand that at all. Sorry to just slam the brakes on. That just jumped out at me and knocked me for a loop. But yeah, you get tremendous opportunity to hit for some power down there, or at least find some extra base hits down there. Up toward the top of the lineup, we've got guys who are good table setters. 365, 350 on base for TJ Friedel and Gavin Lux from the top. couple of lefty bats that don't have a tremendous amount of power. You do have 12 home runs from TJ Friedl. He's capable of hitting the ball out of the yard, but just 2.5% barrel, 32.4% hard hit. Same thing from Gavin Lux, who strikes out a little bit more. Both those guys walk at a matching 11.8% walk rates, though, 107 and 100 WRC plus. A lot of playability. You probably want one of them, not both of them, though. And look at them as table setters. Novia Marte for only 38-32, 13 home runs on the board, a 204 ISO, tremendous 315 plate appearances. There were a lot of questions after he came back about what it was going to look like. What's the reality of the talent? He's proven a lot of doubters wrong. Sal Stewart, 28-23, 4 home runs and 37 plate appearances, looked pretty solid, a 324 ISO. Good minor league numbers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 494 plate appearances. I think we looked at him the other day. 20 home runs, 17 stolen bases across from AA to AAA this year. Most of that work at AA, but hit 10 home runs in 165 plate appearances after the promotion to AAA. That was a 315 ISO and has continued that torrid stretch of power with the 4 home runs in the small sample so far in the show. So definitely kind of interesting at 2,800, 2,300, and maybe a priority bat in this lineup. That said, we'll see what the ongoing reality of the total looks like. Will Benson, we know there's real power there. 12 home runs on the season, a 232 ISO and 225 opportunities. Comes with a ton of strikeout downside, a lack of quality in terms of getting on base or anything else, but that is a lot of cheap power and a lot of cheap premium contact. When he connects with, among the better power bats in baseball. Tyler Stevenson, 13.3% barrel, 49.7% hard hits. It's resulted in just 11 home runs, 181 ISO, kind of disappointing for that kind of contact. It's weak output, but any given slate, this kind of contact can deliver. 3,400 is very cheap where you need catcher. 3,000, he's playable because you don't have a go-to first baseman. Actually, you don't have a first base eligible guy, so just pretend he plays first base. Ellie, again, at 5,400, 3,900, their best player, baffling spot in the lineup, 35 stolen bases, 19 home runs. Just a 171 ISO obviously needs to improve, but a 105 WRC plus still makes great contact, the ideal player, and if people skip him from that spot in the lineup, so much the better. Ke'Bryan Hayes, 31-27, low end, never finds quality despite hitting the ball hard. Matt McClain, mix and match quality at best this year, has found some decent counting stat numbers, but it's been few and far between as far as the reliability. Andrew Abbott at 85 at 92. I don't like that FanDuel price. I would play maybe some shares in a bunch of lineups of the DraftKings price, but I don't think he's necessary. 2.79 ERA, but a 4.36 xFIP that is the real number. Just 21.9% strikeouts. Finds a good swinging strike rate. It's not special. A lot of adequateness going on here. A lot of averageness. So I think either way, an overpriced Abbott by a couple $100 on DraftKings is all right. On FanDuel, it's too high a price to pay, even though he projects out okay. And maybe a few shares of the Cardinals lineup against the lefty are okay, but they're also not particularly desirable. Brendan Donovan, 34-27, 10 home runs on the board, a 351 on base. It's okay as a table setter, but not really a great option. And lefty here. Ivan Herrera at 4,300, at 3,200, at 16 homers, a 175 ISO. The power output has dipped a little bit. Still a good season. At those prices, he's not bad to fill catcher, but there are cheaper, better catchers on the board. Nolan Arenado back in the lineup at 33-27. Terrible season, 398 plate appearances, probably the last we'll see of him in any kind of, everyday kind of form. He's just been bad, and that swing is just broken. That said, he doesn't strike out. That would be something working against the Abbott play. Thomas Segisi at 26-24. Mediocre over 249 plate appearances. Actually, no, I'll say bad. 78 WRC plus, just a 278 ISO under ex-WOBA under the surface. I'm trying to go too fast now. Okay as far as hard hits go, but no barrels, too many strikeouts, no walks. Lars Nootbaar, pretty weak season out of him, 13 home runs. I was expecting a lot more from him as a quality lefty bat who does make good contact, just not finding results for it this year. That said, very cheap in the outfield as a mixer. Probably one of your better one-offs from this team. But lefty does him no favors either. Pedro Pajes, Jordan Walker, Nathan Church down lineup. I still love Jordan Walker, even with all the flaws. I'm going to try and trade for him or acquire him somehow. I forget if he's a free agent this year in the Dynasty League. Hope for the best. He's still a very young player, but that's not really helping us right now. What maybe helps you? Cheap premium contact. Has not found many results for it at all, but in the lineup and capable of doing that for a very cheap price. Nathan Church has not done much with his 58 plate appearances. At best, a mixer down lineup. Reds bats, Andrew Abbott on DraftKings. Cardinals bats, Andrew Abbott on FanDuel, and really no Michael McGreevy. Sosa still deserves Heisman votes. Thanks for the Joker watch. Yeah, Greg sucks. Jordan lost season. Hello to Greg. Quality Souls out there. OMG Lulz out there. Lone Wolf, Cujo, Andy, everybody who's out there hanging out. Appreciate all you guys. Hit that thumbs up for me. Subscribe to the channel if you've never been here before, or if you've never subscribed to the channel. Check out rotoscouts.com. I won't go through the whole plug, but it's under $1 a day to access all the sports, or all 4 major sports as they're going on. Merrill Kelly, premium option, 8,700, 9,100. Just a tough opponent, but obviously taking Jordan out of this lineup does have an impact here. But there's a lot of quality. They're relatively low strikeout overall. So it's a tough spot. But he's gotten through this a bunch of times on the season as far as facing good opponents. I have no issues with taking shares of Merrill Kelly here. I was agonizing yesterday over whether I wanted to try and chase the saves category or probably futilely try and reclaim a couple strikeouts in innings pitched against people who were going all starters in their lineup. And it's getting down to desperation time the last 2 weeks of the season here, trying to stay in first, or now over the last 2 days, reclaim my first place spot. And I went with saves, but it was agonizing because it was Merrill Kelly in this start that would have been in that spot if not. So if you need any kind of bias decision maker, any kind of tiebreaker, anything like that for whether Merrill Kelly will be good, the fact that he's on my bench virtually locks in that he is going to have a 9-inning complete game shutout with a dozen strikeouts tonight against this team. So got that going for him. 87.91, just a very fair price for a guy with 22.8% strikeouts, a 3.21 ERA, a 3.80 xFIP. Solid throughout the season. A little bit of premium contact visible there, but it hasn't really hurt him at all. 3.24% home runs, I think, is about real. But 2 of those marks are above our threshold, pretty significantly there, and just below the barrel threshold at 9.6. 10 is emergency. So a little bit of downside there. Not really impacting the numbers for the Astros. I would say that Jordan would probably be in the 10 range here. But you've got some good power bats still. Several guys at least halfway to the magic number. Christian Walker leading the way at 6.75. A lot of realistic power there. He's come on lately. 172 ISO, 23 home runs on the season, but has made good contact all year long. Jose Altuve just making his typical 6 and change barrel rate type contact, but finds home runs, 25 homers on the season, 178 ISO, just a 304 xWOBA, but a 110 WRC plus. Kind of a guy who defies a lot of advanced metrics and just continues to find success from 5'4" or whatever he is. Carlos Correa at just 3,800. I'm going to be interested in 2,900 on the FanDuel slate. 273, 329, 401, a 345 xWOBA under the surface, up to a 104 WRC plus. 13 home runs on the board, sub 20% strikeouts. I have no idea why he's 3,800 on the DraftKings slate. 2,900 on FanDuel, also still has shortstop eligibility. Gotta love that. Jeremy Pena at 43-32 fills in shortstop, 15 homers, 20 steals, 163 ISO, gets on base at a great clip. He's slipped down below 300, but 299, 357, 462. It's been a fantastic season for him. Really emerging as a player in a season where I thought we were finally going to be seeing the downside, and for sure, and kind of just sending him off. So reclaimed his career this year. 2,200, 2,300 for Zach Cole, who's been good over 15 plate appearances. Worst mix and match outfield option in the middle of the lineup. Jake Myers at a fair price for a guy slashing 306, 367, 394 over 356 plate appearances. Just a correlated scoring option, low strikeout, medium walk. Doesn't do anything particularly well outside to get to first base and help score some runs. Victor Caratini is interesting. So is Jainer Diaz, and so is Jesus Sanchez in the bottom spot in this lineup. Sanchez draws a 9% walk rate this year. That's up from 7.6 last year, but 9.5 the year before that. Makes great premium contact from the left side. 13 home runs, 12 stolen bases. Now gets in as a wraparound option, going back around to Jeremy Pena, Carlos Correa, and Jose Altuve. I'm really interested in that. But either catcher, definitely on the board. Caratini, good source of power, 11 home runs in 357 chances. It's just come and go type power from a backup catcher type talent, but it's there. It's very real. He's low strikeout, 16.5%, 5.3. The strikeout rate matches what Jainer Diaz has put up. Jainer finds more barrels, 19 home runs, a 161 ISO, pulling together a little bit for the season. He's up to a 92 WRC plus. You can see the quality in the 342 xWOBA. Disappointing year for sure, but he found it a little bit along the way. This is a pretty decent 9-man lineup that the Astros are rolling out here against Merrill Kelly. It's just Kelly quite good. 371 implied total for the Astros kind of checks them down the board a little bit. This one, as mentioned, I do not see it this way. AJ Blue Balls, 2.57 ERA, but a 3.88 xFIP. Striking out 30% in his 21 innings. A lot of relief work. one start. But within that, a 7.23% home run rate in the small sample, 15.4% barrels, a 21-degree average launch, 90.2 miles an hour of exit velo, a 44.2% hard hit rate. That is speaking to the downside. I don't think we have previous major league yet. And it's after 6 o'clock. Oh, well. Looking back through the minors, wasn't really a tremendous problem for him in terms of home runs. Was gettable, but not bad. Had given up 10 home runs to 452 minor league hitters in AAA this year. But that's also pitching as a 24-year-old in AAA. That's right on the borderline. 14 home runs in the minors last year to 542 hitters. It's not bad down there, but it's just gotten exposed in this small sample. Finding strikeout, though. Got to give him that much. But I'm intrigued by some of the power that the Rangers are showing. Maybe it's a little bit of false small sample power. But their home run hitters pulling massive numbers. Josh Smith at the top, 3,800, 3,000. 257, 343, 371, a 104 WRC plus. Wyatt Langford entirely affordable, 45, 34, 21 homers, 19 steals, a 188 ISO. 16 home runs in just 352 plate appearances from Jake Berger. I know that he's been maybe disappointing for what the full season expectation was, but when he's been in the lineup, he hasn't been bad. 13.9% barrel, 49.4% hard hit, a 195 ISO that could easily be a little higher, 344 xWOBA to speak to the quality. He's cheap. Jock Peterson has 8 home runs, finding his form maybe a little bit. 8.9% barrel, 45.8% hard hit, an elite left-handed home run hitter against bad righties. Higgy, Josh Young, 33, 34, 28, 29 on FanDuel. 10 home runs and 306 for Higgy, 14 in 466 for Josh Young. Good sources of premium contact over the past couple of seasons. Alejandro Osuna, Michael Hellman, and Cody Freeman down lineup. Hellman a little bit pricey on DK, not so on FanDuel. 288, 347, 591 with 5 home runs and a 303 ISO in that small stretch. We'll see what his real power looks like. Little bit pricey for my money on DK. But Osuna, sub Mendoza, 314 on base, not giving you much over 140 chances. And then Cody Freeman, not giving you a ton, despite some decent numbers in the minors at 28, 24. Mix and match quality down the bottom of the lineup. Where you want to live is in those obvious big power bats up at the top and hope for the best against what has been so far exposed at this level pitcher. Merrill Kelly, Rangers bats, Astros bats, AJ Bluebow. And if you're considering Bluebow for the strikeout upside, just know we're probably not getting more than like 3-4 here. Where the hell is he? I talked about it way back at the beginning of the show. He threw an inning 4 days ago. 3 1/3 prior to that in bulk relief. 2 2/3 prior to that, an inning on September 2nd. So he hasn't gone more than 4 in the last couple of months. Made a start of 4 innings all the way back in April, and then was in the minors until August. 5 innings in bulk relief on August 5th, 4 innings in bulk relief on August 23rd, and then has been shorter outings than that. So maybe capable of giving you 5, but we're maxed out at 5, and that's if everything is going dynamite. And if you hit that, maybe you're getting paid on your strikeouts. But the Rangers, this is only a 20% strikeout rate for this lineup. 3 to go, Coors Field. All right. Don't like Kyle Freeland. There's nobody here that is telling you that Kyle Freeland is a good pitcher. What we are maybe thinking about is the fact that those Marlins, that's not a great lineup. I think we know that. They're facing a lefty. It doesn't really impact anybody except for Jacob Marcy, one of their guys who's been better over this recent last few weeks. I question the quality of the Marlins at popularity and a 5.42 implied total. Kyle Freeland, again, not good. 4.97 ERA, but a 4.29 xFIP puts him around, a back-end rotation, but capable type guy. 17.6% strikeouts, not good, but 5.4%, 5.5% walks is good. gives up a ton of premium contact, but the Marlins don't really make a ton of premium contact outside of a few of the obvious guys. Coors Field, obviously a major tiebreaker, and is why we lean toward Marlins bats. But it would not stun me if Kyle Freeland went out, had a 6-inning, 2-3 run type day, found a little bit of okay, fantasy points production for 53, for 68. Probably wouldn't play that. Maybe throw a dart or two at that. Judy is the more interesting of these two pitchers. Better strikeout option, 4.67 ERA, but a 4.46 xFIP, 12.7% swinging strikes. He also, though, gives up a ton of premium contact. Probably pretty lucky to be at just a 3.33% home run rate in his 17 starts, given this kind of contact. 115 marked by Stuff Plus shows what he could do to a team that swings and misses as much as the Rockies do. But he's got to come in on form, and he's got Coors Field working against him just as much. Easily the more playable of the two. At 75, probably the only one of the two that's in play on FanDuel, and probably not a great idea. At 63 on DraftKings, that's an interesting idea, but I do think people will use it. Marlins bats, again, I don't love the quality here, but would play. They're in Coors Field against Kyle Freeland, 5+ implied total that leads the slate, so some things kind of take care of themselves. 280, 339, 353 season out of Xavier Edwards, 24 stolen bases on the year. Dealing with a wrist injury. We'll see whether or not he's in their lineup. Actually, I could probably do that now. I'm sure we've got it. We do. He is not. Had a feeling. All right. Confirmed version of the lineup. Otto Lopez in the top spot. Worse than Xavier Edwards. 14 home runs, 13 steals. Otherwise, just meh, 122 ISO and 90 WRC+. Plus does have a solid 343 xWOB under the surface, though, that could help us out in this situation when we're looking for reasons to play some of these guys. Agustin Ramirez makes great contact, 10.7% barrel, 46.7% hard hit. Also fairly low strikeout, but not exactly high walk. 20 home runs and 12 stolen bases in his 534 plate appearances. Good way to fill catcher, but a little bit expensive with some Coors Field tax on there, and you're going to get a popularity tax on top of that. 323, 393, 544 for Jacob Marcy, who is going to definitely be a go-to player for people who go to this team. I don't love it at those prices. 222 ISO, a 158 WRC+. It's been fantastic since he got to the show. No doubt about it. Coors Field working on his side. No doubt about it. In 603 minor league plate appearances last year as a 23-year-old, hit 10 home runs, stole 51 bases. So the base stealing is very real. The power, 115 ISO. He also slashed 200, 345, 315. So dead at the Mendoza line with a 315 slugging percentage, had a 115 ISO, a 103 WRC+. This is a speed guy who didn't hit for average. Tremendous walk rate, 15.3% walk rate in AAA last year. Or across mostly AA, actually, as a 23-year-old. In AAA this year as a 24-year-old, 429 plate appearances. Again, tremendous for stolen bases, 47 steals. Had a 191 ISO, spiked some power, 14 home runs on the board. Better slash line at 246, 379, 438. Made some strides this year. But is he suddenly actually a really good Major League Baseball player? Came into the season as the 29th ranked prospect in the Marlins organization. Doesn't exactly scream quality. Now we're paying $53.37 for him. I don't love that. When has he done lefty-lefty? He's been pretty damn good against lefties. Minimal 61 plate appearances. 3 of his home runs, 333, 393, 593. He's been hitting everybody. So either believe the large sample from the minors about who he probably really is, or the short sample at the major league level, which makes him worth the money here. Edilberto Hernandez, 4,108 home runs, 254 plate appearances. Not bad as far as the power output, 6.38 in the home run model. Not bad. Solid premium contact option at a outfield spot on both sides. Not a bad play from the middle of this lineup. If he's less popular than Jacob Marcy, I want Edilberto basically every time. Eric Wagaman, 37, 3,000 mix and match option at first base, but Coors Field obviously helps that. 3 positions on FanDuel for a fair price, always in play. Connor Norby at 4,200. A little bit of pop in the bat, but only 6 home runs, a 125 ISO this season, 8.7% barrels. We're looking for some of that to come through for us at Coors Field. High strikeout, low walk guy, so we need to get lucky with those batted ball events. Dane Myers at 3,100, 2,700, 6 home runs, 17 steals, a sub 300 on base. Not great for a guy who that's his skill set. 73 WRC plus. Coors Field will help. Joey Wiemer and Javier Sanoa down the bottom of the lineup. Wiemer has made ridiculous premium contact so far in 52 plate appearances. That is not real. You can look back over time to see that, but he does have a little tiny bit of pop in the bat. Maybe a mix and match quality outfielder, but don't love him. And those prices are just, fair. They're not exactly cheap. And Sanoa, mix and match quality, 5 home runs, 5 steals. Everything else has been pretty bad, but Coors Field. On the Rockies side, you can definitely throw Rockies bats at lower ownership against Yuri Perez, 469 implied total for them. People just don't go to this team, and they probably should consider them here, given if we get a bad version of Yuri, there is premium contact available. There are walks available. This team doesn't draw a lot of walks, but they do make a lot of premium contact when they connect. Tyler Freeman gets on base at a fair clip, 352. Good table setter up top, mostly via BABIP. Can draw a walk, but not his biggest skill set. Mickey Moniak at 3,500 has 21 home runs and just 425 plate appearances, a 241 ISO. He's been mashing throughout the season, really reclaimed his career. Hunter Goodman, excellent season out of him, 5,000 at the catcher spot, 30 home runs, a 251 ISO, their best player this season. Jordan Beck at 38, Ezekiel Tovar at 39, and Brenton Doyle at 39. Similarly, well, actually a little higher priced, honestly, on FanDuel. All the Rockies are cheap for being at Coors Field today, by the way. They've been cheap on DraftKings basically all year. FanDuel correctly priced them up. These are high prices on FanDuel, not so on DraftKings at all. So take advantage on DK. Rockies on DK is really interesting for the value. But yeah, Doyle and Beck, as we've talked about a bunch, making similar premium contact. Doyle is actually a little bit better, 14 home runs, 16 stolen bases versus 15 and 17. But you can see that, no, they're down at 313, matching ex-Woba numbers now. And Beck has created more runs. So maybe I'm swinging that back the other way. But the premium contact is a little bit better from Doyle. Both those guys are in the mix at fair prices. And then Ezekiel Tovar has plenty of power from the shortstop spot, over 342 plate appearances, 8 home runs this year, hit 26 last year. Blaine Krim for 34 for 26. Blaine had 21 home runs in AAA this season. 18 of those came in AAA with the Rangers organization, and then 3 since joining the Rockies organization, over 114 plate appearances. Solid 232 ISO with the Rangers organization. 28 years old, though, playing in AAA. The reason I mentioned the Rangers versus the Rockies organization there, though, is that the Rangers team is, as far as I know, not a PCL team. So the number's not necessarily skewed by like Coors Field altitude type situations. So maybe a little bit of realistic power down there, but probably just a quad A talent. Kyle Karros, a prospect. Ryan Ritter, a mix and match quality player. Marlins bats, Rockies bats, Yuri Perez and Kyle Freeland. Perez and Freeland probably best played on DraftKings if played at all. Tristan Beck, just an opener. Giants are going with a pure bullpen game after him. You don't want anything that is pitching for the Giants today. And Erod is a total adventure. We already have the Diamondbacks lineup. I don't know what I'm doing. Erod's always an adventure on the mound, 4.98 ERA, but a 4.44 xFIP's a little bit better, 21% strikeouts against 9% walks, a little bit of swinging strike. Not bad as far as the premium contact goes, just 33.5% hard hits, 87.9 miles an hour of exit velo. That's where Erod can win a little bit, is on limiting premium contact. Maybe he clips the wings from some of the Giants power bats. Maybe he finds a few Ks along the way. There are strikeouts in this lineup. There's a lot of right-handed bats in this lineup as well, though, and that's going to be an adventure for Erod. He's always on the board at 6,500 on DraftKings. Just no doubt about it. He is a value dart. It's a high risk value dart. He's a total roller coaster, but it's playable. 81 on FanDuel. I do think the same thing. I think he's in play. 6 innings and a quality start, not completely out of the question. So as a big GPP play in a bunch of lineups, if you're building 150, he should be involved at least to some degree. Doesn't have to be a top priority, but is playable in a few shares. Giants bats going against Erod, though, against Erod, would be definitely in play, especially as a hedge position. But even not, there's some quality there. Elliot Ramos in the top spot for 39-32, has 17 home runs. Slipped a lot via the ISO, but still carrying a 334 on base, still has a 107 WRC plus, decidedly above average, hanging on to some good premium contacts. So just the results have slipped. The quality really hasn't. Rafi Devers, solid season, 31 home runs at 221 ISO, 135 WRC plus, remains Rafi Devers despite rumors to the contrary. Willy Adames also remains Willy Adames, 28 home runs, 10 stolen bases, pulled it together nicely, 109 WRC plus, 197 ISO. It'll be interesting to see if he can squeak that over 200 for the season in the next 2 weeks. Matty Chapman at 42, 32, 21 home runs at 210 ISO, a 127 WRC plus, and 488 plate appearances. Still a very, very real power threat from the right side. That is an excellent option against Erod. Would be probably definitely top 3 priority. Might be my top priority one-off in this lineup, honestly. More so than Rafi, more so than Willie. But that would be my top 3 hitters, obviously, in this lineup if I'm going to this team. And then Wilmer Flores, a player we've succeeded time and time again against left-handed pitching with over the years. He's got 15 home runs. He's only average otherwise. Casey Schmidt, mix and match. Errar Encarnacion is kind of interesting. 35 pretty limited plate appearances outside of the pair of home runs, the 229 ISO so far, but 59.3% hard hits over that little stretch. A little bit of power there, and had 5 home runs in 119 2024 plate appearances in the show. To go with, that was 4 home runs in 98 plate appearances, a 190 ISO in AAA last year. Had 146 AAA plate appearances in 24 and 10 home runs. That was to go with the 5 that he hit at the major league level. So 15 in fewer than 300 combined plate appearances. In 2023, entirely at AAA, 516 plate appearances, 26 home runs, a 224 ISO. That was as a 25-year-old. The power's real. The premium contact is real. Little aged up, maybe falls into just through the cracks and becomes a quad A type. We'll see where he goes. But 3,000, 2,200 against this pitcher. This is an interesting right-handed bat with a little bit of thunder in it. Jung-Hoo Lee, Patty Bailey, mix and match options. Both Lee from the left side, a little bit of a line drive option, maybe some correlated scoring, but less than desirable. Patty Bailey, bad season, high strikeout. On the D-backs, 478 implied total to throw at Tristan Beck and whatever else comes out of that bullpen. Arnaldo Perdomo, Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll are always in play. They're very high priced, but they get on base like crazy. They create a 139 WRC plus as an average. So on average, they are a 3-man group that is 39% better than the average player at run creation. That's ridiculous. 25 home runs, 30 home runs for Marte and Carroll. Perdomo, honestly, not far behind now at 19. He's also got a 391 on base. Just absolutely outrageous season at him. He's been really good. We get price discounts immediately at Gabriel Moreno, 4,000, 3,000 where you need catchers. That's a great option. 44.8% hard hit rate, 289, 347, 456 season, 122 WRC plus. 357 xWOBA. He's been tremendous. Blaze Alexander's fairly priced at second. That is a good 5-man right there that only costs $47.40. That's pricey, but not extremely. To again throw at this bullpen as an alternative to a higher priced visiting team at Coors Field, Marlins. Probably lower priced home team at Coors Field. But that's an interesting Diamondbacks group to consider. Blaze has made great premium contact, 7 home runs and 227 plate appearances. Just a 173 ISO is a little light for this kind of contact. Needs to find better results overall, but the power's real. The quality's real. 297 xWOBA was a little bit concerning. A lot of strikeouts, not enough walks so far. Also a lot of strikeout, not enough walk out of Adrian Del Castillo so far. A little bit of pop in the bat as well. An interesting mixer at catcher, but I'd much rather have Gabriel Moreno from up top. Alec Thomas is a mixer in the outfield for a cheap price. Nothing special there. Ilomaro Vargas, another guy, nothing really special. Has hit 3 home runs and 87 plate appearances. Okay slash line outside of the on base so far, but just an 81 WRC plus. And we've seen him in the past. He's just okay. And then in that bottom spot, whoever that is also just okay. It's Jake McCarthy. 208, 257, 337. Pretty disappointing season. This goes Diamondbacks bats, Giants bats, Erod. Don't play the Giants pitching. And we round things out in Los Angeles with a dynamite pitching matchup that has Shohei Ohtani out of our lineups, but in the Dodgers lineup, on the mound for the Dodgers tonight against a tremendous opponent in the Philadelphia Phillies. Tough spot for Ohtani. Probably only going 5 as usual, but we did, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 2 starts back, saw a spike into the mid-80s for pitch count. So knowing that he's got that in his bag, if everything's going great, the innings doesn't matter. It's more about the pitches. Maybe we do get him into the 6th if everything's going fantastic. And if that's the case, we've probably got a great DFS start on our hands for 8,000 for 77. I think expectation has to be in the 5-inning range, though. Makes him much more of a DraftKings option at 8. You can pile up a decent 5-inning start with a handful of strikeouts in 5 innings for that price. 77 on FanDuel with the lack of the quality start and the extreme upside of the pitchers at the top of the board becomes a little bit shakier, but there's enough offset in that price that I think is workable. You probably need a couple guys to go bust, but that's also in the cards. You roll it 100 times, we would see it a couple, or 1,000 times. We would see it a couple times. Chrissy Sanchez on the other side, excellent option, 95-10-2, basically at any price. 2.57 ERA with a totally believable 2.82 xFIP, 13% swinging strikes, 26% strikeouts against just 5.8% walks. Literally nothing that he does poorly on the mound. Excellent lefty to throw at this Dodgers team. 95 is a great price on DraftKings. 10-2, worthwhile on FanDuel. Fire away. 404 implied total for the Dodgers has them leading the way, but between the two teams, I mean, I'm not really convinced that they're separated by a full half run here. It's probably more like 3.75 on both sides. If you're going Phillies, we'll see what they roll out. If it's this version, they're more in play with their regular everyday lineup. But again, coming off of clinching the East, we'll see what happens. Harrison Bader's been excellent for them. 16 homers, 11 steals, solid contributor for DFS purposes, 129 WRC plus. Kyle Schwarber. He can go deep against anybody. He's got 53 home runs on the season, a 328 ISO, 156 WRC plus. Just probably the best 3 true outcomes hitter in baseball. It's a different thing than the best hitter in baseball. Bryce Harper, 57-38, 27 homers, 12 steals, solid on base, 135 WRC plus, been fantastic again this year. JT Realmuto, underrated season. 12 home runs, a 133 ISO are a little disappointing, 1 point below average by WRC plus. I get it, but still making great contact. Comes in as a fairly priced catcher against a very good pitcher and then the bullpen. But that's a good option if you're going Phillies. Brandon Marsh at just 3,600 has power in the bat, 10 home runs and 395 plate appearances, better premium contact than that over the past couple seasons, up to a 343 on base. The on base is really where he draws his skills from. I prefer him when he's late in the lineup or like this in the heart of the lineup rather than when he hits like 7, 8. So hopefully we get him there or higher or all the way down the bottom where we can take advantage of the on base. Otto Kemp, mix and match quality, 33-28, 6 home runs and 192 chances isn't bad. 103 WRC plus. I prefer Max Kepler if we're going that route, though. 16 home runs from him, a 168 ISO. Just an okay season out of Max. We've seen more than that, but 11.1% barrel, 45.2% hard hit. Not bad. Low strikeout, high walk. Bryson Stott, mix and match guy who can steal you a base if he gets on. 331 on base with 23 stolen bases. And Mundo Sosa at the bottom of the lineup, you probably see in some configuration of this team. 7 home runs. Solid season, over 248 plate appearances. More of a mix and match type guy in any real sense. Fills multiple positions, including second base. Makes him ideal. Ohtani, just a pitcher. Don't play him as a hitter because you can't. Mookie Betts, 5,800, has been surging lately. 263, 331, 415, 108 WRC plus, 19 home runs. All of a sudden, it doesn't look quite as tragic of a season. Obviously, it's not where we expected him, but he seems returned to form, seems renewed. Not sure what they did, but he looks back. 4,400, 3,600 for Teoscar Hernandez. Not bad. 24 home runs on the board for him. 208 ISO, 102 WRC plus. Freddie Freeman for 47 for 36 in conjunction with the other guys around him at fair prices. It's still an expensive Dodger stack, but like FanDuel wise, that 4-man is 3,500 on DraftKings. That 5-man that includes, well, Tommy Edman, Alex Cole, I don't really love, but just for argument's sake, that 5-man is only 4,200. The better way to build that would be probably Andy Pajes. And then, maybe we do let Alex Call into it. That's 3 outfielders, first base, shortstop, 4,280. And I get Mookie, Teoscar, Freddie, Alex Call, and Andy Pajes. It's not bad. Tommy Edman, the quality's really been up and down through the season. A dozen home runs that mostly came early, a 161 ISO, 85 WRC plus. We've seen better versions of Tommy Edman in the past, but very low strikeout, low walk. So you get balls in play. It's just they're not particularly well struck. Alex Cole, kind of similar, does find success against lefties. That's why he's in the lineup from the right side. 4 home runs, just a mix and match quality guy, but a 111 WRC plus. More interested in Andy Pajes if we're going for a late lineup righty, though. Realistic power, only 4,000, 3,100. Not all that dissimilar price-wise from those two guys. Pajes is the much more realistic option. 25 home runs, 276, 317, 466, a 116 WRC plus. Enrique Hernandez, Ben Rortvedt, mix and match options. Rortvedt, not much of a bat at the bottom. Enrique has been much better in years past. I think we're just kind of shot at this point. Loosely playable for a cheap price. Christopher Sanchez. Shohei Ohtani on DraftKings. Dodgers bats, Shohei Ohtani on FanDuel, Phillies bats. You could easily put the Phillies above the Ohtani option on both sides, though. I don't love ranking this last one. Ohtani's such a weird wild card given the extreme nature of the talent, but the likelihood of that innings cap. Anyway, that's your show, gang. It's 11 games up and down, which is good because it's coming up on 6:30. Didn't quite make it. Power, nothing announced, but that's an interesting thought. Wouldn't shock me if it was 5 and thank you very much. I don't think they go that route. I would say if they do that, maybe it's like, all right, 6 is good. We still get our quality start. And they just don't let him go 7, 8, 9, unless he's like chasing a no-hitter or something. That I could see. I don't think it cuts us to 5. I think maybe it cuts us to 6, which does give it a little bit of a ding for sure, at least as far as the ceiling goes. Ohtani ownership, I can look up, Monty. Give you an idea of it anyway. DraftKings, right, Monty? Yeah, without giving you the number from our pals over at RG, whose numbers, yeah, no, the quality is up and down a little bit. Ooh, that's higher than I expected. 4th highest on the board, kind of in the mix with like 8 guys, right in like the mid-teens. But yeah, a little higher than I expected. I would say that knocks Ohtani down slightly as a pitcher, honestly. I'd rather get some of the other guys around him. Some interestingly low-owned options in the value range. If these projections are right for ownership on DraftKings, the field is playing with fire. Something to keep in mind as you're building DraftKings lineups and you're exploring those SP2 options, the Dean Kramers of the world, he's a little bit more highly priced. No, he's 69. I was looking at the wrong one. The Zebbies of the world, even Jose Barrios, as much as I'm not overly enthused about saying that name. As you're considering those guys, the field is all over, at least per these projections. Yuri Perez at Coors Field, which again, talented guy, but absolutely no guarantees. Shaky, roller coaster type pitcher. And then their other SP2 of choice is Erod. One of those will probably succeed at a very low price. I do think those are correct options to choose. But I would be choosing them much more aggressively if they were about half where they are on the ownership board. And I think that does favors down the board for some of those other guys. It makes them the more interesting choices. Really interesting wrinkle on that DraftKings slate. I'm glad that you asked that question so we can notice that. Yeah, real interesting. With that in mind, guys, there's your pitching board one last time. Love Freddie Peralta up at the top. Logie Gilbies, Chrissy Sanchez, Merrill Kelly, excellent options, all 3. Each guy facing a tough opponent, fairly priced, but no real discount outside of maybe Merrill Kelly at 87 on DraftKings. Don't love Andrew Abbott, but playable against St. Louis. Cam Schlittler, a lot of flaws. 94 is a little bit high on FanDuel. 82 works very, very well given the strikeout upside on DraftKings. Ohtani, we just talked about, going to be pretty highly owned for the money on DK. 77 on FanDuel. I question the quality start. Judy Perez, crazy popular at that DraftKings price. I question is probably going to be the same on FanDuel for 75. A lot of danger. Very, very high danger. King probably don't get the innings to pay off those prices. Zebby, high danger against the Yankees, but easily on the board to blaze a trail through that team, find some strikeouts along the way. Solid 6-inning start that checks the Yankees down and makes us look foolish with our projections. Again, in the cards for the Twins pitcher. Dean Kramer, I think, is underappreciated at 6,900 against that White Sox team. That is an interesting option given how highly owned both Yuri and Erod are going to be. Slot him in. That is an interesting SP2 play. Ryan Pepio, just tough opponent, Shane Smith, etc. down the board. You guys heard me talk about all that, and we get worse and worse down the board here. Even like Freeland at that 53, considering again that he's facing Miami, where his opponent is 5 times his owned, it's a dart. We're playing with fire either way. So take the cheaper, way lower owned guy who's essentially the same in the same kind of position. Erod, same deal. Like Shane Smith against the Orioles is probably better. Dean Kramer, almost certainly better than a way too popular Erod. And I like Erod. I advocate for Erod in the right spots. But given that ownership I just saw, it seems shaky, or at least something where you can pivot and go around it and kind of attack that leverage. Anyway, with that in mind, guys, let me punch out of here. 6:31. I got to get these projections updated on the website and get some lineups built. You guys absolutely rock. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Rotoscouts.com is the website. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at Rotoscouts on Twitter or in the free premium Discord, which is linked down in the description below this video. Check out our guys over at acemine.io for your sim and optimization needs. And we will see you tomorrow, hopefully for a quarterbacks and stack show, certainly for baseball. Stay tuned. See you. I mean, don't stay tuned. Go about your business. Come back tomorrow. See you, gang.